Have you ever felt that someone opposes your every word and action just for the pleasure of making you uncomfortable? Imagine a young man who is preparing for an important presentation at work. He has put a lot of time and effort into his preparation, but one of his colleagues is constantly criticizing his ideas and questioning his abilities. At the point where he begins to doubt himself, he decides to ask his colleague 3 questions. The colleague, realizing that his criticism was not constructive, agrees. The first question is, "Do you think my ideas might be useful?" The colleague replies that probably not. He then asks if he has done anything to deserve such criticism. The colleague again replies that he has not. Finally, he asks why then the one criticizes so actively. A colleague responds, "Because I can't stand that you can succeed. There will always be people in life who will oppose you." Each of us has encountered such personalities, whether it's a jealous coworker, an unfriendly acquaintance, or even a loved one. By applying the philosophy of Stoicism, you will be better able to deal with envy and conflict coming from others. Stoicism offers a practical approach to life, focusing on what we can control and accepting what is beyond our influence. If you don't take a firm stand, you may be overwhelmed by others, including those who don't support you. Being resilient doesn't mean keeping quiet and bearing grudges. It means controlling your emotions and thinking carefully about your actions. We invite you to learn more about these timeless concepts that will help you live with greater wisdom and ease. Let's discuss how Stoicism can help you face challenges without resorting to conflict. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and let's get started. Ignore intentionally. There is no such thing as a play without an audience. Being ignored can be deeply frustrating, but it's a feeling you can use to your advantage. Try intentionally ignoring those who are trying to hurt or provoke you. This simple but effective strategy requires considerable self-control, because you are consciously choosing not to respond to provocative words or actions. Remember that the power of some people lies in their ability to elicit emotional reactions. For example, imagine an athlete who is confronted with an unkind comment from the audience at a competition. Instead of letting these words throw him off balance, he decides to focus on his game, ignoring the noise around him. As Epictetus said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." This emphasizes the importance of controlling your emotions. When you ignore provocations, you cut off their source of power, showing that they have no impact on your emotional state or decisions. Instead of spending time thinking about responses or retaliation, you begin to use that time on the truly important things in your life. You decide what role each person plays in your inner world. Instead of feeling victimized, you can choose to be wise and refuse to participate in the conflict. This decision not only protects you from negative emotions, but also helps you develop resilience and a deeper understanding of yourself and the world around you. By following this path, you become architects of your happiness and guardians of inner peace. Choose to ignore negativity and focus on what is truly important, and you will see how it will transform your life. Win by using your head. It's not only the approach that matters in conflict resolution, but also the ability to use creative strategies to avoid open confrontations. Instead of getting bogged down in arguments and conflict, we can use our thinking to find peaceful and productive solutions. Imagine a work group facing a major disagreement over the direction of a new project. 2 co-workers, each sure they are right, begin to argue, but instead of delving into the conflict, one of them suggests brainstorming. He invites all team members to express their ideas and views, creating a safe space for discussion. As Seneca said, "No one can be free unless he owns himself." This principle emphasizes that controlling one's emotions and reactions is key to successful interactions. Instead of reacting to provocation, we can take a moment to pause and reflect on the situation. In a brainstorming session, each team member gets a chance to express their thoughts. Not only does this foster deeper elaboration of an idea, but it also strengthens team spirit. People begin to feel that their opinions matter, and this reduces tension. Instead of conflict, collaboration is born. Moreover, this approach allows the team to identify the strengths of each participant. For example, one employee may be an expert in technical aspects, another in marketing. By combining their knowledge, they can create a more cohesive and effective plan than if they each acted alone. This way, instead of fighting each other, the team becomes a cohesive unit where every contribution is valuable. Not only does this simplify the decision-making process, but it also helps everyone involved feel like they are part of something bigger. By showing intelligence and creativity, we not only avoid unnecessary conflict, but also demonstrate leadership skills. We show that we are capable of controlling a situation by mentally analyzing it and finding the best ways to achieve goals. This approach not only strengthens working relationships, but also helps to create a more productive and harmonious atmosphere in the team. Ultimately, using sound strategies to resolve conflicts is a path to personal and collective freedom. It is a choice that allows us to act with understanding and respect for those around us, and as a result, lead to more successful and happier collaboration. Turn adversaries into teachers. There is a concept in Stoic philosophy that encourages us to transform adversity into opportunities for growth. Instead of seeing adversaries only as enemies, we can see them as teachers who help us expose our weaknesses and identify areas for improvement. As Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is not to be like the one who harms us." This principle reminds us that responding to aggression with anger only makes the situation worse. Instead, it's worth using challenges to build your resilience and self-awareness. Imagine a situation where a young manager faces criticism from his or her boss. Instead of being offended or responding in the same way, he decides to analyze the criticism and see if there is any truth to it. This opportunity teaches him to be more mindful of his actions and improve his team management skills. When we are met with rudeness, responding to it with the same coin makes us just as impolite. By practicing tolerance and calmness, we can turn obstacles into a path to self-improvement. Marcus Aurelius also advises us to stop and think before criticizing others. What mistake do I have that is most like the one I am about to criticize? This approach helps develop humility and empathy. We begin to realize that we ourselves are not blameless and have no right to judge others. Instead of harboring negative feelings toward our adversaries, let's be grateful for the lessons they can teach us. Every conflict is an opportunity for self-discovery and personal growth. Imagine what a famous hero would be like without all the hardships he faced. He would be just an ordinary man if it weren't for his enemies and trials. They are what made him a legend. By changing your perception of your adversaries from threats to opportunities for growth, you change the dynamics of the relationship. They may continue to dislike you, but you no longer waste your energy and time on them. Instead, you focus on your own growth and wisdom, which ultimately brings you true peace of mind. Recognize that your enemy is not the cause of your suffering. Our inner feelings are often not determined by the actions of others, but by how we perceive and interpret those actions. An adversary can be a real teacher to us, reflecting our own weaknesses and helping us see where we react emotionally without thinking. As Epictetus said, "It is not the events around us that make us upset, but our judgments about them." This thought emphasizes that it is our perceptions that shape our emotional response to events. Even in difficult moments when we feel like the outside world is disturbing our peace, It's important to remember that we have the power to choose how to respond. Imagine you work on a team and one of your colleagues constantly criticizes your ideas. Instead of being offended and angry, you decide to analyze his criticism and ask yourself some questions. Why did it hurt me so much? What is it about his words that causes me to react in this way? This approach helps you realize that it may not only be his opinion, but also your own fears and insecurities about your ideas that are causing the negative emotions. This discovery can be the beginning of a path to personal growth. Your adversaries can serve as a mirror, reflecting aspects of your personality that need attention. Instead of blaming them for your failures or bad moods, you can begin to ask yourself deep questions about your feelings and reactions. This changes the dynamics of your life. You stop being a victim of your circumstances and begin to recognize your opportunities for growth. When you take responsibility for your emotional responses, you open yourself up to greater inner freedom. This allows you to develop a more balanced approach to life, where your reactions become more conscious and rational. This change in perspective brings not only peace of mind but also joy. You realize that your strength and courage are not dependent on the actions of others. This frees up tremendous potential for personal growth and development, allowing you to become more resilient and confident. Ultimately, your judgment is the key to your emotional well-being. By consciously approaching your reactions, you can not only improve the quality of your life, but also become a wiser and more resilient person. Choose to forgive. Forgiveness is not just an act of kindness. It is a powerful tool to release the burden of resentment and anger. When we forgive, we not only free ourselves from negative emotions, but we also affirm our strength and nobility. This means that we choose not to lock away bad feelings, but to open ourselves up to the world. As Epictetus said, "Forgiveness is superior to revenge because it demonstrates kindness." This principle emphasizes that revenge only reinforces cycles of anger and hatred, whereas forgiveness creates space for healing and understanding. Imagine a situation where someone close to you betrays your trust, for example, by telling a secret you've confided in them. Instead of shutting down and nurturing the resentment, you decide to talk to him or her. You express your feelings and explain how his actions hurt you. This open communication helps you both understand each other better. By choosing forgiveness, you release feelings of anger and resentment, realizing that this person can be wrong too. This doesn't mean you have to forget what happened or continue to trust him unconditionally, but you stop letting the situation control your life. Forgiveness is an act that takes courage. For example, in one story, a teacher was confronted with the rude behavior of a student who constantly interrupted her in class. Instead of responding harshly and punishing him, she decided to find out what was behind his behavior. It turned out that the boy was having difficulties in his family and was trying to draw attention to himself. Instead of punishing him, the teacher offered him help and support, which eventually changed his attitude and behavior. When we practice forgiveness, we not only lessen the negative influence of those around us, but we also help create a more harmonious atmosphere around us. This new approach changes the dynamics of the relationship. You stop being part of the problem and become part of the solution. Choosing to forgive allows us to grow as individuals, expanding our understanding and moral strength. As the story of the teacher shows, choosing love and kindness over anger not only benefits others, but also enriches ourselves. By forgiving, we rise above our primitive instincts and show that we are capable of more than simply responding to evil. Ultimately, forgiveness is a path to inner peace and growth. It allows us not only to let go of resentment, but also to become stronger and wiser, able to influence the world around us in a positive way. The power of direct confrontation. An important strategy for solving problems without fighting is the ability to confront difficulties directly. This doesn't mean showing physical force or aggression. It's about confidently marking your boundaries and defending your position. It's important to remember that every situation is unique. For example, if you are facing displeasure from your boss, the approach should be more delicate. Confrontation doesn't mean fighting. It means being willing to stand up for your interests and opinions without allowing others to overstep their boundaries. If you don't stand firm, those around you may begin to see you as a victim, which will only exacerbate the problem. Stoics remind us that we have the power to choose how to respond to difficult situations. This empowers us to make informed decisions that are in line with our values. For example, imagine that you work on a team and one of your coworkers consistently ignores your ideas in a meeting. Instead of remaining silent and harboring resentment, you can bluntly say, "I value your opinion, but it's important to me that you listen to my ideas as well." This approach not only protects your interests, but also shows that you are willing to have an open dialogue. Every minute spent thinking about how someone has wronged you is a minute taken away from your personal growth. Realizing your worth has to come from within, and no one can do it for you. By focusing on yourself, you take responsibility for your emotions and reactions. This allows you to free yourself from worrying about the opinions of those who don't value you. Your self-confidence and ability to face problems directly opens the door to self-discovery and development. Thus, the ability to face problems directly is not only a way to protect your interests, but also a path to inner peace and self-esteem. When you take responsibility for your reactions, you become the master of your life, overcoming barriers and achieving virtue, wisdom, and happiness. Control is always yours. You are the only one in control of your emotions and inner world. When someone affects you, it is only because you have allowed it to happen. No one has the power to destroy your peace or take away your smile, because the control of your feelings is completely in your hands. As Marcus Aurelius observed, "Choose not to be damaged, and you won't feel damaged." This thought emphasizes that our perception of a situation is the key to our emotional state. Even if someone wishes you harm, it doesn't have to affect you if you don't allow it to happen. Imagine you work in a team, and one of your colleagues is constantly criticizing your ideas. Instead of allowing his words to upset you, you may realize that his negative behavior reflects more of his internal issues than your shortcomings. You choose not to respond to his provocations and focus on your goals. It's important to remember that it doesn't matter how many enemies you have. It is much more important how many people you do not consider enemies and have no anger toward them. Your inner harmony does not depend on the opinion of others, but on your own attitude to yourself. Every minute spent thinking about how someone has wronged you is a minute taken away from your personal growth. Your emotions are your business, and only you decide how to respond to them. Therefore, you have the power to change your life, including how you perceive negative influences from others. It is important not to let other people's desires and opinions determine how you feel about yourself. When you realize your power and responsibility for your emotions, you become the master of your life. You choose how to respond to difficulties, and this leads to inner peace and fulfillment. Your enemies lose power over you when you choose not to let them influence your condition. Practice mindfulness. Mindfulness practice is a powerful tool for maintaining inner peace and controlling our emotions in difficult situations. It helps us become more attentive to our thoughts and feelings, allowing us to respond to external circumstances with greater clarity and poise. This wisdom emphasizes that our reactions depend on our perceptions. When we practice mindfulness, We learn to observe our thoughts and emotions rather than merge with them. Imagine you are on public transportation and someone starts cursing at you for taking a seat. Instead of responding with aggression, you remember to practice mindfulness. You take a deep breath and realize that this situation is not worth your time and energy. You can simply smile and say, "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend you." This simple action helps you maintain inner peace and avoid unnecessary conflict. Practicing mindfulness not only allows us to better control our emotions, but also allows us to develop a deeper understanding of ourselves. The more you practice mindfulness, the easier it becomes to recognize when your peace of mind begins to be disturbed, and the faster you can bring yourself back to a state of harmony. In this way, mindfulness is not only a way to respond to stressful situations, but also a path to personal growth. When you are aware of your thoughts and feelings, you become the master of your life by making conscious decisions that are in line with your values. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius said, events cannot harm you unless you allow them to do so. By practicing mindfulness, you choose not to let external circumstances rule your inner state. This makes you more resilient to the challenges of life and helps you maintain peace of mind. Reframing the situation is a powerful strategy for changing the perception of negative events and finding opportunities for growth in them. This technique not only helps you cope with difficulties, but also helps you develop a more positive attitude toward life. As Seneca said, "Difficulties do not hinder us, but help us." This statement emphasizes that hidden in every problem is the potential for personal growth and self-improvement. For example, you received a rejection on a job offer you were hoping for. Instead of wallowing in self-defeat and thinking, "I'm a failure," try reframing this situation. "This is an opportunity to find a job that really fits me." This approach helps you see that rejection is not the end, but a chance to open new doors and explore other options that may be a better fit for you. Reframing the situation also helps you deal with conflicts in your personal life. For example, if your partner forgot about an important event, instead of seeing it as a betrayal, you can say to yourself, "Perhaps he had his own reasons, and it doesn't reflect how he feels about me." This perspective allows you to avoid unnecessary tension and opens the door to constructive dialogue. The benefits of reformulating are clear. Not only do you retain your peace of mind, but you also develop flexibility in your thinking. This allows you to adapt to change and find solutions in the most difficult situations. Thus, reformulating a situation is not just a way of coping, but a powerful tool for personal growth. When you learn to change your judgments and perceptions, you become the master of your life, able to learn from every situation and move forward with confidence and positivity. Today we discussed how the philosophy of Stoicism can help us deal with envy and conflict that comes from others. Stoicism teaches us to realize that we are only in control of our own thoughts and reactions, while the behavior of others remains outside of our influence. When we encounter envious or unkind people, it is important to remember that their emotions do not determine our worth. By applying Stoic principles, we can maintain inner peace and confidence. We learn to set healthy boundaries and respond to challenges with clarity and resilience. Remember that every conflict is an opportunity for growth. Instead of allowing negative emotions to control you, use them as a stimulus for self-reflection and improvement. In this way, you will not only protect yourself from external pressures, but you will also become stronger and wiser. Thank you for being with us today. Subscribe to the channel and leave your comments. In every challenge, find a lesson, and in every conflict, find an opportunity for growth. Be wise and resilient, and may the world around you become brighter and calmer.